Riverside High School held many secrets within its walls, but none quite as extraordinary as the one that arrived each morning at 4:45 a.m. In the pre-dawn darkness, a lone figure moved purposefully through the rear entrance, carrying a worn leather bag that contained more than just a simple lunch. James Miller may have looked like any other school janitor, but appearances were nothing more than carefully constructed illusions. The morning cleaning routine was a masterpiece of misdirection. Students arriving early for basketball practice would see him methodically mopping the gym floor, never suspecting that each stroke was matched by the calculated movement of money in distant markets. The teachers hurrying to their classrooms would pass him in the hallway, offering distracted greetings to the man they viewed as part of the building's furniture. None of them noticed how his eyes tracked their coffee cups from expensive cafes, silently calculating the thousands of dollars they wasted each year on premium beverages. His cleaning cart was a mobile observation post, equipped with more than just cleaning supplies. Hidden beneath the bottles of disinfectant and rolls of paper towels, a small notebook contained codes and numbers that would have puzzled even the school's best mathematics teachers. Each page recorded market movements and investment opportunities that James discovered during his daily rounds. The quiet squeak of his cart's wheels masked the sound of millions multiplying. The school's security cameras captured his predictable pattern. Every morning he would start with the main entrance, move through the administrative offices, and gradually work his way to the upper floors. What the cameras didn't record were the valuable snippets of conversation he gathered, the market insights he gleaned from discarded newspapers, or the investment strategies he refined while polishing the same windows day after day. His workplace identity was crafted with the same precision he used to clean the trophy cases. The faded uniform, the scuffed work boots, and the ancient flip phone clipped to his belt told a story that everyone believed without question. Even his conversation topics were carefully chosen. Basic comments about the weather, polite questions about weekend plans, and the occasional gentle complaint about aching knees from years of physical labor. Every detail reinforced the image of a simple man living a simple life. In the teacher's parking lot, his 15-year-old Toyota sat among newer luxury vehicles, its dulling paint and minor dents offering silent testimony to what appeared to be a life of modest means. Yet the car, like everything else in James's life, was a calculated choice. Its regular maintenance schedule and excellent mechanical condition ensured it would run perfectly for years to come, while its unassuming appearance deflected any curiosity about his financial status. The faculty lounge was his favorite listening post. During his daily cleaning sessions, conversations about mortgages, investments, and retirement plans flowed freely around him. The teachers, absorbed in their discussions, noticed how the quiet janitor's movements would slow ever so slightly when they mentioned specific stocks or market trends. To them, he was invisible, and that invisibility had become his greatest asset. The teacher's lounge at Riverside High School held secrets that none of its regular occupants suspected. As James wiped down the coffee-stained counters each afternoon, his ears caught fragments of conversations that were worth their weight in gold. Mrs. Henderson complained about her rising utility bills, while Mr. Thompson boasted about his latest stock purchase. Mr. Wilson fretted over his retirement plans, and Miss Rodriguez celebrated her small lottery win. To them, James was just background noise, like the hum of the vending machine in the corner. But every word they spoke fed into his growing financial web. What none of them knew was that their casual conversations about markets and money were being processed by one of the shrewdest financial minds in the city. While James cleaned their coffee mugs and replaced their paper towels, his mind transformed their daily chatter into valuable market insights. Their complaints about gas prices and housing costs painted a picture of economic trends that most Wall Street analysts would envy. The school's computers needed cleaning every evening, and James took his time in the business education lab. As he carefully dusted each monitor, his eyes would scan the financial websites left open on the screens. Mr. Thompson's economics class materials became his daily briefing on market trends. The recycling bins filled with discarded Wall Street journals and financial magazines found their way into his cleaning cart, only to be meticulously studied in the solitude of his apartment. The students unknowingly contributed to his knowledge too. Their conversations about new technologies, changing trends, and emerging brands were like market research delivered directly to his ears. While they saw him as just another fixture in their school day, James was silently noting which companies captured their attention, which products they couldn't live without, and which brands were falling from favor. His small apartment became a command center after hours. The modest kitchen table transformed into a sophisticated trading desk once the curtains were drawn. His ancient laptop, which others might have pitied, connected him to financial worlds that his co-workers couldn't imagine. Every evening, he would sit there surrounded by carefully organized notes, transforming overheard snippets and gathered insights into calculated investment moves. The school's annual financial aid meetings were particularly valuable. As he cleaned the guidance counselor's office after these sessions, he overheard discussions about interest rates, loan terms, and economic forecasts. Each piece of information was like a puzzle piece, fitting perfectly into his greater financial picture. While parents worried about college costs and counselors explained payment plans, James quietly added to his growing knowledge base. In the quiet hours before dawn, as he prepared the school for another day, James would often pause by the economics classroom. The charts and graphs on the walls meant something different to him than they did to the students who would soon fill the room. Where they saw homework, he saw opportunity. While they studied for tests, he was passing life's greatest financial exam with flying colors. Every formula on the whiteboard, every economic principle in the textbooks was something he had already proven in the real world, all while pushing his cleaning cart through the halls. The beauty of James Miller's method lay in its simplicity. Each morning, before the school cafeteria filled with breakfast crowds, he would sit in his tiny maintenance office, carefully reviewing his investment portfolio on his outdated flip phone. The device, which drew occasional looks of pity from teachers with their latest smartphones, was his secret weapon. Its basic appearance masked the sophisticated trading app that connected him to global markets. His strategy was as methodical as his cleaning routine. Every paycheck was a carefully orchestrated performance. To his co-workers, it seemed he barely made ends meet. They never noticed how he divided his earnings with surgical precision. 30% vanished into long-term index funds, 40% went into carefully researched individual stocks, 20% into bonds, and the remaining 10% maintained his simple lifestyle. The school's business mathematics teacher would have been amazed to learn that the man who cleaned his classroom had mastered compound interest far better than any of his students. The school's lost and found box became an unexpected source of financial intelligence. Discarded newspapers, forgotten business magazines, and abandoned financial homework assignments all found their way into his knowledge base. During lunch breaks, while others saw him eating his simple sandwich alone, James was actually conducting thorough market research, hidden behind the guise of casual reading. His investment choices were unlike anything a traditional broker would recommend. James had learned that wealth whispers and his portfolio reflected this philosophy. He avoided flashy tech stocks that his colleagues excitedly discussed in the break room. Instead, he focused on unglamorous but steadily growing companies, waste management firms, industrial suppliers, and obscure manufacturing businesses. Companies that operated in the shadows just like him. The janitorial supply room doubled as his private think tank. Between mops and cleaning solutions, James kept a small notebook filled with careful observations and investment ideas. Each market downturn was met with calculated purchases, while every bubble was an opportunity to quietly sell. His timing wasn't based on complex analytics or expensive market data. It came from years of watching human nature play out in the school hallways. His most brilliant move was hiding his success in plain sight. When the market crashed and teachers worried about their retirement accounts, James would nod sympathetically while mopping the floor, appearing to be grateful for his steady job. Nobody suspected that he had already anticipated the downturn and adjusted his investments accordingly. During bull markets, when others bragged about their gains, he maintained his role as the simple janitor who knew nothing about stocks. The school's annual career day brought him secret amusement. As financial advisors and investment bankers spoke to students about wealth building, James would quietly clean around the edges of the auditorium. The irony was not lost on him. These expensive suits were sharing basic principles that he had mastered years ago. Sometimes a speaker would use him as an example of why education was important, never realizing that the quiet janitor in the corner could have taught the entire seminar himself. His apartment building provided the perfect cover for his monthly investment meetings. His neighbors thought he was attending maintenance training when he drove to the city each month. In reality, he was meeting with his broker, reviewing his portfolio, and making adjustments that would have impressed any Wall Street veteran. The broker, bound by client confidentiality, was the only person who knew the true extent of James's financial acumen. Even then, James shared only what was necessary, keeping most of his strategy to himself. Success brought its own unique challenges. As James's fortune grew beyond his wildest expectations, the effort required to maintain his careful facade intensified. Each morning, as he prepared his simple lunch in his modest kitchen, he fought the temptation to upgrade his lifestyle. The cheap bread and basic sandwich meats were part of a performance that had become increasingly difficult to maintain. His pantry held store-brand items arranged precisely how a janitor living paycheck to paycheck would keep them, even though he could have bought the entire store without blinking. The real complexity lay in managing his expanding financial empire while maintaining his cover. His small apartment had become an elaborate stage set. The worn furniture and outdated appliances were carefully chosen props, while behind a false wall in his closet, a state-of-the-art computer system silently monitored global markets. The basement storage unit he rented contained nothing but old newspapers and cleaning supplies, exactly what anyone would expect. But hidden beneath the floor was a safe containing documents that would have shocked the financial world. His growing wealth required increasingly creative solutions. When his investment accounts reached 8 figures, he had to create a network of shell companies and trusts, each carefully structured to appear unconnected to a school janitor. His monthly visits to the city weren't just for investment meetings anymore. They involved elaborate changes of clothes and careful measures to ensure he wasn't followed or recognized. The hardest part was watching others struggle with money problems he could easily solve. When Miss Thompson, the kind English teacher, worried about paying for her mother's medical bills, James had to grip his mop handle tightly to stop himself from offering help. When the school couldn't afford new computers for the library, he had to remind himself that an anonymous donation would raise too many questions. His wealth had become like a dam holding back a reservoir of generosity. His private amusements helped him maintain his sanity. Sometimes, during lunch breaks, he would calculate how many times his net worth could pay off the mortgages of every teacher in the break room. While they complained about their financial advisors, he silently noted investment opportunities they had missed. When the school principal drove up in a new luxury car, James allowed himself a small smile, knowing he could have bought the entire dealership with just the returns from one of his smaller investments. The irony of his situation reached new heights during the school's financial literacy week. As guest speakers taught students about the importance of saving and investing, James quietly cleaned around them, knowing his own portfolio dwarfed theirs combined. He would listen to their advice about starting small and building wealth gradually, fighting back a knowing smile as he emptied their trash bins. The greatest challenge came from his own success. Each year, as his wealth multiplied, maintaining his simple lifestyle required more discipline. He had to deliberately maintain his old Toyota, carefully managing its appearance to look worn but reliable. His clothes needed to show just the right amount of wear, and his lunch bag had to maintain its weathered appearance without looking deliberately aged. Even his walk, the way he carried himself while pushing his cleaning cart, had to reflect a man who worked hard for modest wages rather than someone who could retire the entire school board. The truth emerged on a quiet Tuesday morning when James Miller didn't arrive at Riverside High School at his usual time of 4:45 a.m. By 6 a.m., the school principal called his apartment, only to receive no answer. The concern among the staff was immediate and genuine. For 30 years, James had never been late, never missed a day without advance notice. By afternoon, when police officers conducted a wellness check at his apartment, they found him peacefully passed away in his sleep, his cleaning uniform already laid out for the next day. What followed would shake the foundations of Riverside High School and reshape its understanding of wealth, success, and appearances forever. The discovery began with a simple envelope on his kitchen table addressed to the school board. Inside was a letter that would change everything, along with a key to a safety deposit box at the city's largest bank. The contents of the safety deposit box left the school board members speechless. Documents revealed a fortune of over $40 million, carefully accumulated over 3 decades. But it wasn't just the size of the wealth that astounded them, it was its purpose. James had left detailed instructions for every penny, crafting a legacy that would impact generations to come. The revelation spread through the school like wildfire. Teachers who had walked past him for years without a second glance now stood in stunned silence as they learned the truth. The old Toyota in the parking lot, which had drawn occasional looks of pity, was now photographed by local news stations. His simple apartment, with its deliberately modest furnishings, became a testament to the power of appearance versus reality. Behind the false wall in his closet, investigators found meticulously maintained records of every investment, every market move, and every calculated decision. His computer revealed a financial empire so carefully structured that even veteran accountants marveled at its sophistication. The man they had known as the quiet janitor had orchestrated one of the most remarkable wealth-building achievements in the city's history. But the true magnitude of James Miller's legacy lay in his final instructions. $20 million was dedicated to establishing a scholarship fund for students from low-income families. $10 million was set aside for updating the school's facilities, with specific attention to the library and computer labs where he had gathered so much of his financial knowledge. $5 million was allocated to create a financial literacy program, teaching students the very principles he had used to build his fortune. The remaining millions were distributed in a series of anonymous donations to every teacher who had worked at Riverside during his tenure. Miss Thompson, who had worried about her mother's medical bills, found her burden mysteriously lifted. The school's aging computers were replaced with state-of-the-art technology. Every act of generosity he had suppressed during his lifetime was now unleashed, carefully planned, and executed through his estate. Most touching was his personal journal, found in the safe beneath his storage unit. Its pages revealed not just investment strategies, but his daily observations of life at Riverside High. He had recorded every kind word, every smile, every small gesture of friendship shown to him over the years. The journal ended with a simple message. True wealth isn't in the money we accumulate, but in the difference we can make when we use it wisely. The The final pages of his journal contained one last surprise: a detailed analysis of how his entire strategy could be replicated. It wasn't just a record of his achievements, it was a blueprint for others to follow. The quiet janitor who had pushed his cleaning cart through the halls of Riverside High School for 30 years had left behind more than just money. He had left a lesson about the power of patience, the value of anonymity, and the true meaning of success. As the school installed a small plaque in his honor near the main entrance, it didn't list his net worth or his financial achievements. Instead, it bore the simple words he had written in his journal. Every fortune begins with a choice to remain humble. Every legacy starts with a decision to serve others. The story of James Miller, the janitor who built a $1 million fortune in secret, would inspire generations of students to look beyond appearances and understand that true wealth could be built in the most unexpected ways, by the most unexpected people. James Miller's remarkable journey from a school janitor to a secret millionaire is not just an extraordinary tale, it is a blueprint for anyone who dares to dream differently. Whether you have a high-powered career or a modest job, his story proves that wealth building is not about your title or starting position, but about patience, strategy, and the power of staying invisible while your fortune grows. The next time you feel overlooked or underestimated, remember, the greatest fortunes are often built in silence, away from the spotlight, by those whom others least expect to succeed. Like James, you too can turn your ordinary position into an extraordinary opportunity, transforming every observation into insight and every paycheck into a building block of wealth. The question is not whether you can build a fortune, it is whether you have the discipline to build it in secret.